Hi everyone, I'm Kathy Dawson, and welcome to Can You Relate, Cleveland's relationship show. If you've been tuning in, you know that this show is for you. Whether you have a relationship with your mate, with your kids, with your in-laws, with your co-workers, with your friends, I could go on and on, with your pets, this show is about you. I recommend that you keep pen and paper nearby because many times we give you resources like books and websites, so make sure you have that by your side. Now, in today's show, later on, we're going to be talking about you and your relationship with your home. Now, I'm going to get a little woo-woo on you. Your home has energy, and what you do in it, how you place your furniture, the colors you put in it, affects the energy. But first, we're going to talk about our relationship as a city to our football team. I have some pretty interesting people on the couch, so let's get started. This weekend is Super Bowl Sunday. And once again, we in Cleveland are going to be watching two teams, not our own, play in this big game. This is our Relationship Roundup segment, and I am so thrilled to have these three people here. They're all Browns fans, and I will announce them to you. This is Dan Coughlin. You're a veteran sports writer, and you are the author of the book, Crazy with the Papers to Prove It. It's all three, or all two of your books are, we have three books here, right? Yeah, thank you. All three books are by Gray & Company. Deborah Harwood, you're here because you're a huge fan, and you're in Terry Pluto's book.
That's
and we'll
correct.
be getting a quote from that book later. And Peter Chikarian, you're here because you wrote a book, and it's called The Browns Fans Tailgating Guide. So thank you for being here. Now, here's the question. I'm a relationship coach. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, coach.
Right.
Whatever you say. We'll go for the wall.
Go team.
Right. I think we have a dysfunctional relationship with our football team. I mean, for years we keep saying they're going to do it, but we have trust issues, don't you think? I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, I'm old. I will never see this team in the Super Bowl.
Really?
You may, but dysfunctional.
I mean, why do we keep going
Cleveland
back?
football fans are suckers. We've been swindled. Everybody should write a letter to the Better Business Bureau.
Right. I knew there was dysfunction in here somewhere. What do you think? Now, you may not agree because you just love them no matter what.
I do love them no matter what, but I think it is like a dysfunctional family relationship where you know they do dumb things and you know they sometimes make some bad decisions, but at the end of the day, you want to be there when they win the lottery.
Right.
And you don't want to be on the outside when they finally get there. And I think in my lifetime, I'm kind of counting on them being there.
So there's a forgiveness piece here. How about you, Peter? What do you think?
I don't know. I think that the fans, they've seen the team at its best and its worst, and I think that the fans collectively put the word fun, in dysfunctional. So to me, I think that, we have seen a lot of things that would cause us not to trust believing that they're going to win everything, but I think that we carry on anyway because we love the team and we love the city.
Right. And now, Deborah.
We worked hard to get them back.
Yes, we did.
Yes,
we did.
Absolutely.
The Spin Master worked hard. Are you kidding me? We paid through the nose. We were swindled by the National Football League. We gave them a $500 million stadium, and what have they given us? They've given us junk for 11 years. I'm mad, and I'm not forgiving anybody for that.
And I have an open session for you this afternoon, if you'd like. Now, Deborah, you had one player that you really liked, Brian Sipe, and I remember Brian. I think a lot of women like Brian. You have a quote in Terry Pluto's book about that. Do you remember what it is?
I do. I said there was, words to this effect, there was no better person in orange pants than Brian Sipe. And the guy that I was dating at the time bought me my own pair of binoculars because every time I used his, they came back all steamed up. And,
Love it.
Obviously.
Love it.
Obviously, I liked him because he was a normal, regular kind of guy. He didn't come in as a superstar as we often see now. Of course, the Cardiac Kids, we went to games then with those Cardiac Kids. You always thought, whether you're at the game, watching it at home, that he was going to bring you a win, and they were going to win at the end. And oftentimes they did. A lot of times they did, and those games were fun. And Brian Sipe was there leading that group.
And do you think we're still hoping for that? I mean, when we had Brian Kosar and, do you think we're still, every season, like we're going to get another Cardiac Kid thing?
Every season we're one draft away from that great team again, some of us think.
Well, yeah, but it's got to be a smart draft.
Hope springs eternal, though. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, that's why everybody gets excited about the team.
Right.
Once, preseason starts, it's, summer's winding down and people are starting to get excited about football. Hope springs eternal. People expect to see the best. You're starting from square one, which I think, everybody in a relationship, you get that excitement,
It's the beginning stage, right.
The beginning stage, it's like the honeymoon period, in a relationship. And so everybody has that excitement that, they can't wait to see their soulmate. In this case, it's the Browns.
And so when does it tank? About when does it tank? Seriously, in the season? Is it different for everybody, or is it we all collective tank, like, oh, here we go? I don't know.
To me, it seems like it happens relatively quickly, but I think with each passing year, we've noticed that there's been a little bit more staying power. There's
Really?
1 or 2 more weeks we're willing to hang on. And I think the thing we've seen in the last couple of years, even though our coach isn't with us anymore, our former coach, Eric Mangini, is no longer with us, we have seen that people are willing to look at progress in and of itself, and maybe that's a sign of desperation in terms of fans, that they're willing to clutch on to whatever they can.
Well, our fans are the best. There's no question to it. And if you are a Cleveland Browns fan, you're going to want to get one of these 3 books. And we're actually giving away 2 bundles. Each bundle has all 3 books. These books are published by Gray & Company, and you can learn more about them by going to their website at grayco.com or call them at 1-800-708-2819. Now, Peter, we're all going to stick around because you're going to cook for us a recipe from your book, from your tailgating book. So you're going to want to see this. Stay tuned.
Up next, we'll help you get souped up for the Super Bowl with winning recipes for the big game. And later in the show, can you hear me now? We'll help you tune in to what your partner is telling you.
Craig and Mark Lindell and Grange Insurance know that when you're out there doing what you do, the last thing you want to worry about is sketchy claims coverage from a cut-rate insurance company. When you go with Lindell Insurance and Grange, you're working with companies that use big, bold brushstrokes when it comes to claims and make an art of working out even the smallest details to make everything perfect. Contact Lindell Insurance or visit their website.
Now, the Super Bowl is more than just about the football game. It's about getting together with your family and friends. It's about watching those crazy commercials, and it's about food. So Peter Chakarian is here to show us a recipe that you have called, get this, The Full Cleveland, in your book, The Browns Fans Tailgating Guide.
That's right.
So explain to us, what does this mean?
Well, the Full Cleveland, the actual term, the Full Cleveland, is sort of a fashion faux pas, so to speak. It's a design that people would wear in the 70s, white outfit, white patent leather belt, white patent
Really?
shoes.
Do you remember this?
Very, very, very gaudy looking, and definitely not appropriate to the times that we're in today.
Okay.
But it sort of couples with the vibe that I have in this dish. Clevelanders like real hearty winter food. In this particular dish, you have 2 main staples. There you have your pierogies here on this side, courtesy of the West
Gotta
Side
have
Market.
pierogies, right?
And your sausage as well. And then what you do is, these are, wonderful tastes. It's sort of the Reese's peanut butter cup theory. Chocolate and peanut butter taste good individually, but boy, put them together and wow. So adding some sauerkraut to this dish sort of helps tie everything together.
Wow.
And so what you do is you get these nice and golden brown, and you serve those up. Yeah, well, it's got some bite, but you got your delicious pierogies. Nice and golden brown, and people huddle around the table for it.
Okay, you're tailgating though. How do you make this when you're tailgating? I don't get that.
Well, you'd be surprised at the types of rigs that people take to these tailgates. You go down to the Muni lot some Sunday afternoon, Sunday morning. Sometimes people start pretty early. Sometimes as early as 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and they bring more than just a little Weber grill to huddle around and cook hot dogs and hamburgers. Around Thanksgiving, you'll see people deep fry turkeys. Really? Oh, they go to great lengths to provide all the fixins.
Deborah, do you do this when you go to tailgate?
From time to time.
Okay. Okay.
It's definitely.
I don't get this fancy.
And who does the dishes?
Yeah, really.
Well, that's what these are for. See, these are what you use when you're all set there. But in essence, what you're doing is you're taking your sausages, you're browning them, cooking them through, and then scooting them over to give your pierogies, your fresh pierogies, a little coat in the melted butter that you have here, and let your dish warm up. And basically, what you end up with here through the miracle of modern technology, is this
look at
beautiful
that.
one here at the end. So
Wow.
that's how it turns
Those are
out.
beautiful.
And it's absolutely delicious. Your sauerkraut sort of boils down a little bit, turns almost into a sauce. Obviously, your pierogies get nice and brown.
And
Delicious.
they're hot, because you're out there freezing, right?
They're hot.
Most
They're
of the time when
absolutely
you're
hot.
tailgating, you're freezing. So this is a great thing.
A lot of people will bring their gas grills, which have side burners, and so it's very easy to do something like this.
Who would know? I never knew this.
It all
Best way
takes
to
planning.
tailgate is to have a friend like Peter.
Yes.
Well, he wrote a book about
And
it,
she
right?
got his book.
That's all in your
Yeah,
book.
I did. And you know what though? I
Absolutely.
mean, I've had a lot of people ask me, are you the king of tailgating or something? And no, that's not the case at all. I just observed so many people do it the right way and do it to the nth degree that I wanted to help sort of share that with everybody
That's
else.
great. And your book can be gotten by Grain Company. To go to their website at Graco.com or call them at 1-800-708-2819. And this recipe will be on our website at CanYouRelateTV.com. So stay tuned. We've got Rate Your Relationship coming up next. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are we going to...
Does this sound familiar? Mom, I want this. Dad, can I have that? Please. But when your child asks for something significant, do you say yes without consulting your partner? Say no without consulting your partner? Say, your dad or mom and I will discuss it and we will get back to you on that. Coach Kathy will now get back to you with the answer that's most appropriate.
If you answered yes to C to this question, you and your partner are working as a team. When your kids come to you and ask you a question, your gut feeling is, I better answer it right now. You really don't have to. I always tell couples they want to use the pronoun we. Instead of saying yes or no right away, you let them know we're working as a team, we're going to discuss it and we'll get back to you. The other thing this teaches your kids is about delayed gratification, and that's a definite part of maturity. So if you know someone who'd like to take this survey, they can do so by going to CanYouRelateTV.com. Stay tuned. We're coming up next with another segment.
Just ahead, we'll listen in for tips for how to be heard. And later, do you look around your home and say, same old, same old? We'll share ways to refresh your relationship with your residents.
Infrared breast imaging is a non-invasive breast scan that has no touch, pain, or radiation, and it can detect abnormalities years before a mammogram. So schedule your IRBI scan at 440-239-3438 or visit our website at tenpennyimc.com, where you can be an IRBI girl.
In any relationship, communication is the most important thing. Often we think about communication as talking, but really half of the equation is listening. So we're here to talk about tips for listening, and we've got Eddie Lay here back, your second time. Welcome back.
My pleasure.
And you're going to give us some information on what a good listener is. But first I want to say you're a communication expert, and you are the owner of the Center for the Healthcare Communications, because you work with doctors a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
As well as other people. So what makes a good listener?
Well, first of all, people have to understand the difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is where we take in these sound waves, and that's pretty easy. Mm-hmm. Listening is interpreting the sound waves. So hearing is an easy thing to do. Listening takes work.
It does take energy. So you know how when you're, and we've all done this, everybody here can relate to this. You're talking to someone and your head's going, mm-hmm, and you have no clue what they're saying, and you just hope they don't ask you a question. What do you do? How do you rein yourself back in? Because when you kind of be a third-party observer and you know you're not listening, how do you get ooh, wake up, I gotta listen?
Yeah, one of the first things is we need to be fully present when we're listening. And one of the things we need to do is we need to be fully present with our eyes, our face, and our body. And that means eye to eye, face to face and shoulder to shoulder. We need to be fully present.
Okay, so there's some nonverbal stuff going on you need to prove to
Yes.
somebody that you're doing.
So once we do that, then we're ready to move on to the next step, because listening is more than the ears. So once we do that, and I know some people might not like this suggestion, but it works. When you're listening to someone, pretend as though you're going to have a test on what they just said.
Really? Because I get anxious when I think about testing.
Yes, and what that will do is that will really keep you listening, and we could listen so much better than we think we can. And to give you an example of that, I went to a training years ago. There were 40 of us, and the first day we all stood up, we got into a circle. The first person said their name and favorite food. The second person had to say the first person's name and favorite food.
Oh, I've done those games.
The 40th person, guess what, had to name everyone. Well, the interesting thing is, at the training, almost everyone got every single person right because they were listening so carefully.
But doesn't this also have to do with memory, like short-term memory? Because, you know, I went to my grandmother's house and I took my toothbrush and my, you know, don't you have to kind of also...
Oh,
are
part of
you
it-
saying it's collective? You got to remember what everybody says?
Yeah, but...
Was I listening?
Yeah, but the thing is, surprisingly enough, if we listen very carefully, we could actually take in. And part of the reason that we don't listen very carefully is because while the other person's talking, instead of us listening, we're thinking about what we're going to say next.
Who doesn't do that? So you got to like set your agenda aside.
Right.
It's about trusting that you'll know what to say when the time comes, right? I'm
Right.
guessing.
And there's a way that we could tell if somebody's actually listening, because what good listeners do is they listen to the other person and then they respond to that.
In their own words kind of thing?
Right. And
Okay.
I could always tell when someone's not a very good listener, because I was talking to someone, a friend of mine, a few weeks ago, and I just got back from New York City, and I said, oh, it was very exciting, I just got back from New York City, and he said to me, oh, I'm just planning my skiing trip now.
Oh, so they kind of jump to a different...
Right,
it's like,
and a good
okay.
listener would say, well, how was your trip? That sounds
Right,
exciting. Actually,
they
I'm
play off
planning
of
a
that,
trip too.
right.
So we need to go back and forth. Good listeners respond. It's like a tennis game, you know, back and forth, back and forth. And with tennis, the other person has to react. Otherwise, there's no game.
Okay, these are all good tips. And like I said in the beginning, you want to have paper and pen because you gave some really good concrete tips on listening. Thank you for being here. We want to have you back. I know we do.
Well, my pleasure. And the one thing I wanted to mention, when you're talking to someone, you want them to feel like no one else exists in the world except for them.
And just in these last 4 minutes, I have felt that way.
Well, that's good.
So thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay, if you would like to get a hold of Eddie, you can do so by calling him at 440-338-3056 or log on to your website at communicatingwithpatients.com. Stay tuned. We have Romance Review coming up.
Next, want a new look for your living room? You can find it right inside your home sweet home. We'll show you how. Then, they're dieting as a duo, but the only thing they're losing is patience with each other. Coach Kathy weighs in.
If you and your mate want to see a good romantic comedy this month, you'll want to see the newly released Universal Pictures film, The Dilemma, with Vince Vaughn, Kevin James, Winona Ryder, and Jennifer Connelly.
You gotta go right up to him and you gotta say it to him. Nick, here's the truth. You're gonna be okay. I love you, my man. Come here.
Why is that man hugging himself?
Just keep walking.
Directed by Ron Howard, this movie is about a guy who finds out his best friend's wife is having an affair. Does he tell his friend that he knows, or does he keep it quiet? This movie will not only make you laugh, it will also make for interesting conversation after it ends.
That's what you've earned here today.
For those who struggle with drug and alcohol addiction, finding the courage to change is the first step to lasting recovery. Discover life in recovery. Discover Glen Bay.
Glen Bay, nationally recognized drug and alcohol treatment for adults. Discover more at glenbay.com.
So, do you you have cabin fever, I know I get it. And one of the best ways to refresh yourself is to refresh your surroundings. And we have someone here I'm very excited to introduce you to, Kim Osbury. Thank you. Your company is Staged in Style, and you're going to be talking to us about the simple, no-cost things we can do to really refreshen our homes.
Absolutely. I'm going to share with you 3 very simple ways that you can refresh your home without spending a lot of money.
Great.
The first one is placement. And with placement, it's so fun because it's absolutely free. Can you believe that?
I love it.
With placement, you shop your own home and you use what you already own to decorate your rooms. You know, a lot of times when people move into a house, they put their furniture in each room, they hang their art on the wall, they put their accessories on the shelf, and then they never move them again. Right. So I'm going to challenge your viewers today to get in those rooms and move the furniture around, switch it between rooms, put artwork out of your dining room into your living room, move your accessories around, and give yourself a whole new look.
I have to tell you, my husband the other day just said, why don't we swap up these 2 chairs? I was like, no, we can't do that. I'm very symmetrical. They have to look the same. And I did it anyway. I'm so glad I did it. It looks really good.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
I think we have some examples on some pictures of some rooms. And the first room, this house, she just wanted a new look. It was, you know, she has kids and she kind of had her furniture in the same place for many, many years. Yes. And so what we did is we switched out her basement furniture and we put that up in her family room. She had this love seat and sofa in her basement.
Really? I like that better than the first.
I know. Moved the chair closer to the fireplace so she's got a little reading nook, scooted the armoire over, added a rug, placed accessories. Isn't it beautiful?
Wow,
she
it's
was
like
thrilled.
A brand new room.
And it didn't cost her anything because she already had everything in her home.
And then this is a different one?
Yes, with this room, this girl was so tired of her sectional sofa. You know, with sectional sofas, they're so big, they're bulky, and you can only put them in certain ways. So what we did is we took out the center part, squished the 2 ends together to create a long sofa, and that gave us more options for placement. So then we angled it in front of her armoire, took some chairs and accessories, and just created a new room.
That's beautiful. And that was just from moving things.
Exactly.
So what's the second thing you were thinking?
My second suggestion would be to add color. Okay. Paint is very inexpensive, and you can refresh a whole room by painting every wall, or just pick a really fun color and put on an accent wall, which is fun too.
We just did this. We
did.
painted our wall green, but we have an alcove that we painted a different color.
Perfect.
It changes the whole room.
Perfect. And don't forget about furniture too, because you can spray paint furniture pieces like a small chair or an ottoman just to add a pop of color.
And what's the third thing?
Well, the other color suggestion I had was bring in decorative pillows, throws, fruit, art and accessories. That also brings in color without a lot of financial commitment.
Sure.
Because as we age, our taste in color changes, and that's okay.
That is true. And the third thing?
And our third suggestion would be fragrance. And with fragrance, even though we can't see it, it relaxes us, it can lift our mood, it can energize us. And so some ways to bring in fragrance would be candles or diffusers, fresh flowers. I love fresh flowers.
Oh, I love fresh flowers.
It always makes you feel good.
Right.
Or home fragrance oils.
Wonderful. Really easy ways to refreshen your home. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
If you would like to refreshen your home, you might want to get a hold of Kim, and you can do that by going to her website at stagedandstyle.com. Stay tuned. We've got Ask Coach Kathy coming up next.
Coming up, Kathy helps a couple who is losing the will to lose weight. And next week, having a problem with your pet? We'll solve some of your pet peeves next week on Can You Relate with Kathy Dawson.
Hi, Murray Plasko from Fashion Floors, here to remind you that Fashion Floors has a wide selection of carpet and the newest and hottest in hardwood flooring. Plus, we have the very latest in green products like bamboo and cork. Think big, save big, get 12 months same as cash. Call or come see us today.
Everybody wins when you decide to donate your ride to Our Lady of the Wayside.
Our Lady of the Wayside is so much more than a car donation program. For over 40 years, we've helped thousands of physically and mentally challenged citizens live more comfortable lives within our network of homes. Our services range from assisting with personal care to developing productive personal growth. With your generous support and help, we can reach out to so many more. Y'all can help. Visit wayside.org or stop in to see us today. You can change lives.
This is the Ask Coach Kathy segment. This is where you get to write in your questions and I answer them anonymously each week. This question you just might really relate to. Here it is. Kathy, my husband and I have been on a yo-yo diet together for over a year. We lose 5 to 10 pounds and end up gaining it back again. We are losing our will to lose weight and are getting crabby with each other. Not sure how to get back on track. Help! Well, help is on the way. I have here this wonderful couple, Annie and Pat Flaherty. You have some advice for this viewer because I know you have lost collectively 25 pounds. Tell us, what was your motivation for doing it?
Well, I think getting older, it was more of a look at our health. My blood pressure was going up, your cholesterol was going up. So I think from a big picture standpoint, we decided to revamp our nutrition. But you took it a step further.
And we had a couple of family events, and by the end of that, kind of felt bloated, a little off-center, and it was like, we need to make a change. So I kind of said, let's give it a shot for a week and see what happens.
And I relate to the bloated thing.
Yeah.
Distension, all that.
Just not comfortable.
So, right. The pants are killing you. Yeah, right. Okay, so did you consciously sit down and say, okay, this is the date we start? How did that work?
Yeah, you kind of picked that date.
I kind of said, let's try it for the week. We finished that week, and honestly, after we were done, we both were like, we need to try it for a little bit longer. Because it's a difficult thing to start.
Right.
And figure out what foods to eat, what can't you eat.
So did you take it in little increments and we got through this week, now we're going to get through one more week?
What we did was we'd already revamped our nutrition a little bit. We'd cut down on our fats and our things like that. But it really entailed taking out cheeses and meats, so all dairy, all meat, no eggs. And then you become very conscious about your food and your eating. You start to ask, what's in this? You and I ended up talking a lot about our favorite recipes and how could we do them differently.
Okay, kind of like the house segment.
Yes.
No cost, you just move things around. Now, what would be your biggest piece of advice for this viewer?
I would say talk a lot. Actually, one of the upsides for us is we end up eating together a lot more now because we're cooking together.
Okay.
So that would be it. And take a bigger picture goal. Keep that in mind because weight loss is very short term. That wasn't our goal. Mm-hmm. And once you lose the weight, you lose kind of the motivation for your goal. So a bigger picture goal like your health.
Okay.
Getting to spend more time together.
Right.
So cooking together and
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a joint goal.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Great advice. Thank you both for being here.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And thank you for tuning in again to Can You Relate? You'll want to stay tuned for next week because we're going to talk about the winter blues and how do you beat the blues naturally. So I'll see you next Monday. Have a wonderful week.
Wardrobe provided by Aurora Farms Premium Outlets. Hair and makeup courtesy of John Roberts Salon and Spa. Want to learn more about today's topics, suggest segments, or add your input? You can do all this and more at CanYouRelateTV.com. Can You Relate with Kathy Dawson is presented by CK Media Productions.